You guys come off the bye week. How did it go?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought this bye week a little bit different than last. I thought, just getting this deep into the season, being able to take some of the reps off of our guys. So give them a little bit more time off last week. We went two kind of light days, Wednesday and Thursday, off Friday, and then kind of a fast practice on Saturday morning. So a bunch of walkthroughs, so being able to get a ton of reps and being able to see what we're going to face against UAB right now, and both on offense, defense, special teams. So able to get a head start. And then, obviously we're really light on Mondays and then come back. And I thought our work day today was good. And so, getting a little chilly outside, but I thought our guys handled it well. It was windy out there. We didn't break from what we normally do. We went outside and practiced and thought it was a good start to the week. And obviously the one, kind of hiccup that we had this year was coming off a bye week, South Florida. And so getting our guys back refocused right now, I think is huge for us. And I think that we've handled adversity well this week, and really over the course of the whole entire year, I think we've handled adversity well for the most part. And so a lot of older, mature guys on this team. So really happy with the way we came out and practiced today, and got to reset and get ready to get on the airplane here at the end of the week. And it's been something that we haven't just been particularly great on the road this year. I mean, we've had to find ways to win in a lot of close games and a couple overtime games. Didn't start great against Charlotte, and so challenge for us to get out on the road and be able to play a complete game will be something big for us. And then two, UAB's been really good at home this year. And so just a couple of weeks ago, I think, the more reminders we can give our kids, in a game like this is they got after a really good Memphis team a couple of weeks ago. And so, yeah, just for us to be able to reset our minds and get back to playing a good brand of football will be super important this week.
Yeah, you mentioned that you guys had that one hiccup in the South Florida game coming off a bye week. Did you learn anything from that you can take into this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that coaches struggle with. I get calls all the time from other coaches, and I call coaches as well, just trying to figure out what's that perfect balance in the course. And so I think, after we were able to really assess what we did well the first bye week, and I really didn't think going into South Florida, I thought our kids were rested. I thought they knew the game plan. I mean, I thought just more self-inflicted wounds in that game. You go back and look, we kind of talked about it's well documented, that stretch of about 5 minutes where, we turned it over and had opportunities and we dropped balls and some things that were pretty uncharacteristic of our ball club this year. And so, yeah, I mean, we got to get back to playing our brand. We know what the winning recipe is for our club this year. And that's something that we've focused on those things that we've done positive. And then, too, just I think we get reminded every week on seeing somebody, in college football come up with a win that they weren't supposed to get. And it's hard to win on the road. And in this conference right now, I think it's hard to win on the road at every level of football. And so yeah, we'll have to reset and make sure that we handle what we can control this game.
You mentioned the conference race. It's kind of an interesting year with so many one-loss teams. Do you start to take a look at how everything shapes up at this point?
Try to stay away from it as much as I can. And obviously, I think just anytime you start looking in the future, I think that's when things go haywire a little bit. And so trying to focus on one step at a time, that's easier said than done. I think anytime human nature creeps in and you start looking and worrying about what could happen down the road. But yeah, I mean, we have so much to play for in the month of November, and which is our team has put us, they put themselves in that position right now. And for us to maximize that, I mean, we obviously have to come out 1 week at a time and control, our destiny 1 week at a time. And that's UAB this week.
You've obviously been in a lot of these conference races. Is it a little odd to have this many teams all with one loss kind of stacked up at the top at this point of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a testament to how good this conference is. And then I think, just the scheduling year in, year out is something that's tough to do and make sure that all these teams play one another. And so I think a little bit, a bigger conference where you're going to have some teams at the end of this thing that you're not going to be able to settle it head-to-head in some certain scenarios. And so And that's why I think it's important for us to be able to just worry about what we can control, and that's going out and preparing the way that we prepared throughout the whole year and getting ourselves ready on all three sides of the ball to go and get this W.
You mentioned after the game that you guys would be able to take a closer look with the doctors on where Shane stands, Shane Witter. Do you have an update for us as we head into this week?
Yeah, I mean, Shane will be out this week, and so he'll be out this week, and we'll see kind of what that progresses like the rest of the year. But yeah, and heartbreaking for him. I mean, just such a cool story, and coming from, Oklahoma and getting to this point in his senior career, and honestly was playing as good as anybody on the defensive side of the ball for us. I mean, just an extreme competitor, a great teammate. And so you hate that for those kids like that put themselves in those positions to have a successful senior year. And so, yeah, he's definitely a leader on our squad, but no, he'll be out this week.
Is there a chance he gets back later in the year?
I don't know. That's to be determined here, but it'll be tough.
Coach, honestly, you mentioned kind of the big story with UAB was that win over Memphis. Just what have you kind of seen, or what did you kind of see in that particular win? And then obviously, since the coaching change, if their play styles changed whatsoever?
Yeah, I mean, I think they played extremely well. They changed quarterbacks, and Kitna didn't, I don't know if he's banged up or not, and Ryder comes in and plays extremely well in that game and throwing the ball all over the place. I thought they controlled the game in all three phases. I mean, these guys are really good on special teams. They have some really explosive guys in the return game. They've had multiple returns for touchdowns this year, and it's something that they do have some guys that I think are super athletic. I mean, number 11 pops off, number 0 pops off, where, they have the speed to take it the distance at any time. And so, just be important for us. I think we've been really good when we've been able to establish a run game throughout the course of the year, and we can lean on that. So for us to get out and be able to run the football effectively, I think is going to be big for us in this game, and then be able to stop the run, right, is the two things that have been great for us. Continue to be good in the red area on both sides. That's where something I think we've gotten better as the season's gone on defense, of really being able to step up and make people settle for 3 points or find a way to get turnovers. And so yeah, for us to go out here and just the things that have been good for us, I mean, win the turnover battle. Every time we do that, it seems to work out in our favor. The field position battle will be huge in this game because I think they are so explosive in the return game, both punt return. And then obviously we've struggled at times on kickoff this year, and so for us to be able to I don't think the weather is going to be that big of a deal in this game. And it looks like light winds with 70, 75 degree weather, so should be a pleasant night or afternoon in November there in Birmingham. And so yeah, I mean, it'll be a challenge for us, but I think there's some key things that we got to definitely win some certain situations during the course of this game.
Absolutely. When you evaluate that team, though, from the coaching change to now, is there any difference in their play style at all, or just the identity as a whole?
Yeah, you could tell. I mean, I think Memphis, it was just fun to watch those kids come out. They seemed so inspired, right? So, hats off to Coach Mortensen and getting those guys fired up, and then just playing a complete game that game. It wasn't like, hey, they did one thing well and it ended up winning the football game. I mean, they were fantastic on defense. They were fantastic on offense and on third downs and special teams, transitioning the ball, all those different things. So I think you could really see, the energy level, kick it up right there. And then, too, lost a tight one last week against Rice at Rice, and Rice has been a sneaky good team all year long. And so yeah, I mean, just this will be a lot about us just going out and preparing and doing our jobs on Saturday.
Absolutely. You mentioned that this year so far you guys have struggled a little more on the road than at home. Do you change anything in terms of the game week prep or just anything about it?
No, exactly the same. And so it's been fun. Although we haven't been great, but we're undefeated on the road, and so it's just been a little bit different type of games, I think. And I think really when you look at it, we played some complete games here at home, and that's one thing. Although we've gone in spurts of playing really, really well on the road in different phases. But I think, you look back at starting with Western Michigan, very bad in the first half, really good second half. Army, really good in the first half, really average in the second half, really good in overtime. And then at Charlotte, same thing. I thought, we were pretty, we came out, I don't want to say flat just because we started so fast and 7-0, but we weren't able to capitalize in that first half and hang around. And we came out in the second half and played a complete, game as a unit, completing the second half. And so, yeah, just consistency. Like I'd like us to put together 4 quarters on the road.
At home, you guys force at least 2 turnovers a game. On the road, you've only had 1 game where you forced a turnover. Western Michigan, Charlotte, you didn't force any. Has that been like a mental thing, or is there something that happens just because it's on the road, or what kind of changes from home to road split, especially in the turnover battle?
Yeah, that's a great question. I didn't even realize that stat till you just brought it up, and so I'll ask Coach Cassidy if we can change that up and do whatever we're doing at home. But no, I don't have a great answer for that. But obviously, when we have been able to get turnovers, it's been a huge part of our success, and maybe that goes into some of the things I was just talking about, putting a complete game together, and us being able to get the ball and score off those turnovers. And so, don't have a great answer for that, but it'd be nice if we kind of switch that up a little bit and we were able to get some turnovers on the road.
Yeah, and speaking of just defensively, UAB allows about 3 sacks a game offensively. You guys have been able to apply a lot more pressure recently up front, especially against Navy. How do you feel like that can translate going into a game against us on the road?
Yeah, I think, when we can get, the offenses into 3rd and long situations, I think we've been really good and been able to pin our ears back a little bit and dial up, some pressure looks and give them some different stuff. And I think, when we haven't been great on 1st and 2nd down, we allow people to continue to stay in 3rd and shorts and 3rd and manageables. I think it's been a little bit tougher for us to create that negativity on that side of the ball. And so done a nice job. Tackles for loss is way up this year from what it was a year ago. And so I think just being really good on 1st and 2nd down will give us a chance to really open up the playbook a little bit and get after them in some 3rd and long situations.
Obviously Drew's story has been just fantastic the whole season. It keeps evolving, especially in this bye week here on the Rich Eisen show. He's doing a lot of different things. Does that make you just more proud every single day of someone like him that keeps on evolving as a quarterback, but also off the field?
Yeah, me and my wife were talking the other day. I think the one thing that you notice, I think you get better when you're put in situations and just repetition. I've always been a repetition guy, and he's getting better at speaking to the media right now. And so I remember, we did a show with CBS Sports where we were live, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and you could tell Drew was nervous in that. And then I thought he did fantastic in the Rich Eisen show right there. And so I think, as he gets more comfortable in the spotlight, and naturally I think people are drawn to his story. It's such a remarkable story and has gotten some national attention. And so I think he'll just continue to get better and get more comfortable in front of a microphone. But he hasn't changed as far as being a great teammate is something that I'm most proud of, is just the way that he interacts with our kids, with his teammates, just not selfish, super competitive on game day. The kids know that. And so, that's what I think I'm most proud about.
Coach, following Navy, you gave a lot of credit to the offensive line for dominating the line of scrimmage. And since your time here, you've always talked about beefing up the size down there. Is this kind of the fruition of that mentality that you've had for the past couple of years?
Yeah, I think our offensive line, we've stayed healthy for the majority of the season. And, you think back a year ago and, we started something crazy like 10 different lineups in 12 games last year. And so anytime you're able to get the continuity, I think the size has been good. I think that they're meshing, they're communicating at a high level. And I think Coach Krill's done a phenomenal job at developing those guys and then forming, a bond in that room. And I think offensive line groups, everywhere I've been, I think the best ones, they're a little bit goofy in that room. They kind of have their own little clique in the offensive line room. And so I think it's a mixture of us having really good players. We got a good mix of older guys, younger guys, and then I think Coach Krill's done a great job of formulating, a recipe in that room of great relationships that those guys want to go out there and play well together.
Yeah, with Shane down this week and kind of questionable for the rest of the year, how do you guys approach that? Do you guys go more 4-2-5 with Quentin, kind of like you did last week?
Yeah, and I think, we've always been a team that we're going to match personnels around here. And so, we have some other linebackers that have to get in the mix, and we're going to have to get something out of them. I think, those 3 linebackers have played so many reps for us over the course of the whole season. But, yeah, I think Quentin's done a phenomenal job. Quentin continues to get better. This is a little bit different game where personnel-wise, Quentin will be able to match up a little bit better. But, at some point when people start putting extra tight ends in and we're getting 12 and 13 personnels. I mean, we're going to need a bigger body in there to do what we're asking them to do for the defense to work together. And so yeah, I mean, it'll always be next man up. I mean, we got 3 or 4 linebackers. I think our puppies linebackers are Brennan Reese and Jay Manning are getting better and better each week. And so wouldn't be surprised to see those guys on the field this week and then throughout the rest of this year.
You mentioned that UAB is playing a lot better late in the season. What is it that they've done to improve?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could really see the change like I talked about earlier. I mean, I think just anytime you continue to grow throughout the season as a program, wherever that is, I thought the energy level was fantastic. That first game when Coach Mortensen took over. And we're really good in all 3 phases and had some really explosive plays on the offensive side of the ball, both run and pass. And then defensively as well as they played all year against Memphis, being able to control it, get them off the field in key situations, get some key stops in key times. Really a wild game when you watch it because they're up 2 scores with like 2 minutes left. Memphis goes on and scores, I think, with 2:15, 2:17 left. They're able to get the ball, and then they have an unbelievable drive that they go down and get it on the 1-yard line, 1st and goal on the 1 with 50 seconds left. And, kind of some weird things happen, a couple false start penalties, pushed them back, and just a great goal line stand for UAB to finish that thing off without getting into overtime. And so that was a gutsy performance, man, and I thought they played great on all 3 sides of the ball. So, yeah, I mean, you could definitely see these guys have definitely gotten better throughout the course of the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Landon Sides, a guy that's from town and has done a good job for you here. They mentioned during the broadcast that you guys don't have him for a single drop the whole year.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. If you guys throw out some crazy stats, knock on wood right there. So, I think for the most part, our guys have done a fantastic job of just catching the football. We throw and catch a ton in practice by design. I think Drew throws a really catchable ball. And then, too, really besides the South Florida that we talked about the other day where we had, I think, 5 or 6 key drops in that game, I kind of look back over the course of the season. There hasn't been many. Charlotte comes to mind. Terrence Lewis on that second drive had a wide-open touchdown that he dropped down the field. But other than that, I just don't remember a ton of drops. And so, I know our receiver coaches, they take tabs on that, and they grade them each and every week. But I'll go back and check that. But, just thinking back, I don't remember, really Wyatt dropping a ball. I don't remember Cam Dorner dropping a ball. And so, yeah, I'll have some answers for you next time we talk about if that's correct or not.
Yeah, but Landon, is he one of those guys, is that part of what makes him special as a wide receiver, is just his ability to?
Yeah, I think just really trustworthy. I think, he's a guy that's going to be in the right spot at the right time. A tough, gritty guy. He's a really cool pitcher. I don't know if it's out there, but first drive last week, he's going in to crack a safety and comes on the sideline, and he has more blood, and he's spitting blood everywhere and comes out. They take him to the tent, and I think he was out one play. He comes running back in, with the thing shoved in his nose up there and ready to get back in. And so, yeah, I mean, I think he's tough. He's gritty. He loves to play this game, and I think we have a lot of guys on our team that love football right now. And I think that's what makes them so fun to coach each and every day, because they love practicing. They love the process of game planning and what we're going to do schematically against them on all 3 sides of the ball. And that showed up this year. I think, Coach Sabota does a great job going back and looking at, kind of some old tape. Same thing with Baron Tipton could be said. I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff in the press about him fair catching that ball. We repped that play. You went back, it was either 2 or 3 years before that. They had run the exact same onside against Memphis at a key point in the game and verbatim. And so we'd seen that in practice all week, and Barron, that was exactly what we wanted him to do. And he executed at a high level, and we got the ball at that time of the game, which is a huge play for us. After the penalty, we have it on the plus 30 and able to score, I think, 2 plays later. And so I think these guys take great pride in the details of the coaching, and Landon's a guy that I think would fit into that category for sure.
Yeah, because he's not the biggest guy. What makes Landon effective, you think?
Yeah, he's not very big, but he's big. He's strong. No, I shouldn't say big. I say he's not big, and I say he's big. He's strong. He's gritty. I think he's super competitive, uber competitive, and he thinks he's the biggest guy on the field week in, week out, and he's not afraid to go mix it up with safeties, with linebackers, and block for running backs. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's more of an attitude thing for Landon. Obviously, he's a great athlete, or he wouldn't be playing at this level, but I think his attitude is what kind of separates him.
What went through your mind when he went after that South Florida linebacker?
Yeah, probably thought in the back of my mind, this is his home turf. He was protecting a little bit. And so, obviously, you don't want him to get a penalty and react in a way that's going to hurt your team. We talk about that all the time. And I think you've seen it, some things that have some negative effects on your team when you get out of hand and you start doing some things to get flags out there. And so, but yeah, I think that just shows what type of player he is, and he loves North Texas. He's a local kid from Denton Guyer, and he loves the mean green.
All right, cool. Anything else?
Appreciate you guys. Have a good day.
You guys come out the bye week. Did that do you guys some good?
I feel like everybody refreshed and ready to go.
So what, you guys just needed some time to, heal up a little bit and get a bit of a breather, or what?
We just had a bye week. Everybody get those.
Yeah, okay. So, and then you guys, looks like you've lost Shane for at least a week.
Mm-hmm.
How do you adjust?
And just keep playing football. Next guy up. Keep playing football. Keep doing what we've been coming here to do every day.
Yeah, you went to the 4-2-5 a little bit last week. Quentin had a good game. Is that something that we could see going forward a little bit more?
Yeah. We've been running that, and Quentin been in certain situations like that. So, it's nothing new to him.
What's Shane done for this program over the course of his career here?
I can just speak on this year because I don't know what he did the other years he was here, but this year he's been a great addition. He stepped up. Ethan stepped up. A lot of guys stepped up in our room, and that's what we needed. That's on defense. Everybody needs to step up and play.
You guys start to look at how the conference race shapes up. That's a little bit unusual this year with all the one-loss teams. I think there's 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
You guys start to pay attention to that at this point in the year?
Not really. We're just trying to play football and go 1-0 every week.
All right, and you guys have UAB coming up, obviously. These guys beat Memphis. What do you see in this team?
We treat them like any other team. We come in, come to work and be ready to practice and get ready for the game plan and show them what we got.
Yeah, I'm working on a story on Landon. You played with him throughout this year. What makes him a special player?
Landon side, oh man, he's a character in the locker room. You just have to be around him. He's just a great person to be around, and just always uppity. He's just always up, got high energy all the time.
What went through your mind when you went after that South Florida linebacker and late in that game got in his face like that?
I didn't even see it until I got on Twitter after the game. I was like, dang, all that happened? But, that's Landon. That's what I said. That's Landon.
That's just his personality like that?
That's just him.
You got some deep-seated pride in this place?
Oh, yeah. All
right, cool.
Trey, speaking on Shane's injury, Coach mentioned some young guys like Brendan Reese or Jaden Manning kind of stepping up in that position room. Just what is your confidence in that linebacker room, and just from those two guys possibly filling in for Shane?
I'm confident everybody that they put in that plays with me or sub in for me. I'm confident everybody that do their job. So I'm confident in everybody.
You guys last year at Sam Houston had 10 wins. You guys won a bowl. You guys are, if you win Saturday, you're at 9 wins. First time for North Texas since 2018. What does that kind of mean for a program just to continue to elevate each and every year?
I didn't even know that. I feel like everybody in this building not really worried about that. Not in a bad way, but just so we can be focused and not let anything slip away.
You guys face another solid running back, and I think it's Javon Jackson of UAB. What have you kind of seen in him, and how is he kind of compared to the rest of these running backs you guys have faced in this conference?
I feel like we've faced a lot of good running backs, so, it don't really change nothing. Just come in and go to work.
Yeah, hey, Drew, so you guys had the bye last week. How did that go for you guys? Do you feel like you benefited from that?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was good to, just get a little physical break for all of our guys. And, I felt like we really didn't come out of these last couple games too banged up, but just to, physically reset and mentally reset and kind of, just get back on track and set our mind to what our goals are.
Yeah, I mean, the conference race is pretty crazy this year with 5 one-loss teams. You guys start to look at that and how you fall into the race?
I mean, obviously, like you have your sights set on those goals, but it doesn't matter if we don't keep winning. So we just can control what we can control and just keep winning.
What do you see in UAB?
I think they're a good team. They obviously beat Memphis, who's a really good team, and so I think we just gotta go out and play our game, execute our game plan, and just go out and play the best we can.
Is this one of those teams you just can't overlook?
I mean, yeah, I think every team you can't overlook, and looking back to the South Alabama game, their record doesn't show how good they are and how good that team is. So I think every game you can't overlook, and just don't let their record define you or define them.
Working on a story on Landon's sides, they mentioned during the broadcast that he hasn't dropped a ball all year, or at least that's what the stats say. Does that surprise you, and what's he like to play with?
I mean, no, that doesn't surprise me. I think Landon's just a solid piece of the receiver room that clearly consistent if he's never dropped a ball this year. And I think just he's got a little fire to him, and just having someone that brings that competitiveness and brings that juice every day, it's awesome to have him in the receiver room.
What were you thinking when he went after the linebacker from South?
I mean, I had no idea what he was going to do, but I'm glad someone kind of did something about that, and because I didn't even see what was going on. I was on the ground, and but I'm glad someone will bring the fire like that on our team.
Does this just kind of show the kind of guy he is, to go after a guy that was so much bigger than him?
100%. I mean, he'd go after the rock if he had to. He'd do anything. So he's a great teammate.
And we're going a little bit on a story on your guys' ability to manage games and Morris's ability to call plays. How much confidence do you have in Coach Morris just with the way he calls and manages a game? Because it seems like he defies convention a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I've 100% confidence in all the plays he calls, and I think that just comes throughout the week, and him talking to me about what he sees and what he likes, and why he's calling each play. And honestly, it gets to the point sometimes in the game we'll be in a situation, and I'll just be thinking of a play that I like, and then he'll call it, and just to be on that same page as your coach and the play caller, it just makes offense that much easier.
Does he just have a knack for it, a feel for it, just being able to call the right plays in the right spots?
Yeah, I think so. I think his aggressive mindset really helps that, but look at the Navy game. He also has the ability to keep it on the ground when it's working, and just do whatever it takes to win the game.
And you guys feel like you're just prepared for anything that's thrown your way in a game? I mean, I harken back to that special teams play when they tried the onside kick, and Drew told you guys beforehand that was probably going to happen. Mm-hmm. Is there just a feel for the staff of what's going to happen in games like that?
Yeah, I think we have a great staff that really prepares us for everything and anything. We know teams kind of play us differently just because of the offense we run. So we see all looks, even if it's not looks that they've shown in the past, and we'll go back and look years ago and find something they ran years ago and prepare us for that. So I think just this staff does a great job at preparing us for everything.
You guys ran the crazy draw at the end of the half against UTSA, which was one of those plays that kind of defied convention. Was that just kind of an example of those guys having a feel for it? Yeah,
I think it is. And I think our players trust the fact that they're going to put us in positions to succeed, and, to have their trust to, hand that off and trust that, Kiefer's going to get enough to stop the clock or get out of bounds or something. It just makes you that much more confident out there on the field.
Yeah, what was running through your mind when he called that draw on that spot?
I mean, I was just trying to get the ball snapped quick and, get the play rolling so we could have a chance whatever happened. And then, I saw Kiefer break it out on the edge, and I knew he was getting in there.
Drew, branching off of that, you mentioned that you have also input on some of the play calling as well. Just what does it mean to you as a quarterback to have that freedom and be empowered to make those decisions?
Yeah, it's great. Being confident in plays as a quarterback is really the biggest thing, I think. And, just to be able to freely, talk to Coach Morris on the sideline and tell him what I'm seeing and, what I like, it just makes it that much easier whenever you're out there to feel comfortable back there and really be able to adjust to any situation.
Over the course of the season, have you been a little more vocal or a little more suggestive in terms of some of the play calls?
Yeah, I think I have, and I think that also comes with just having success off of my suggestions, and because at the beginning of the season you don't want to kind of go out there and just suggest all these things and then it doesn't work, because then you just lose confidence in it. But to kind of work through the season and have more and more suggestions and things you like it, and then it works, it just builds that much more confidence.
Absolutely. Coach mentioned regarding y'all's struggles on the road that you usually have to commit to the formula that has led to you guys winning so much. How would you kind of describe that winning, especially on the offensive end, or the formula on that offensive end?
I think we just can't shoot ourselves in the foot. We can't go backwards. I think really all the games we've struggled in offensively, and just those drives we've kind of stopped ourselves. I feel like we have either busted routes or been careless with the football, and I think we just can't shoot ourselves in the foot and just keep moving forward. And even a 3-yard gain is better than going backwards, or throwing it away is better than taking a sack. So I think just stuff like that, we just can't stop ourselves.
And Caleb Hawkins against Navy, 4 touchdowns, just a phenomenal performance overall. How important is it to be able to rely on someone like Hawkins and just your running back room in general, like you mentioned? Every single game. I mean, one game it could be you, next game it could be Hawkins or whoever. How important is that for you?
Yeah, it's just makes the complete offense run, and I think in years past here we've kind of had to lean more towards the passing side, and to be able to really have the balanced attack, it just makes it that much harder for the defense to stop us, honestly, to kind of key in on what we're doing.
You guys have a chance at 9 wins for the first time since 2018, and you're in the college football playoff conversation and all that. Is it kind of surreal for you to think about, and even especially with the team, is that kind of like a weird feeling to think about considering the past few years?
It's awesome to be in this situation, but I don't think any of us think it's surreal or like all of us knew we could be here if we put a season together and put stacked days, and so I think all of us are happy to be in this situation and excited, but we all know what our sights set on and what our goals are for this season.
Obviously your story has been talked about a lot this year, and we talked to Coach Morris about it earlier. And this bye week you're on the Rich Eisen show. You're doing a lot of different public speaking stuff. Do you feel like you've gotten more comfortable doing that and kind of being able to show that you can be in the spotlight a lot more? And has that hadn't really affected any of your game really?
No, I feel like I've gotten better at it, and I think obviously just with everything reps, and the more times you do it, it gets easier and easier. But I think I'm getting better at it a little bit.
All right. Thanks, Drew.
Yep. Thank y'all.